And what I asked for today, it's not that. What I asked for today was a celebration. If there's anything that Vivian would have wanted to come to, it was a party, a fun activity. She would not be wishing to come to a sad event. Not much fun in that. At any rate, I'm Guy Lamunyon. I'm Vivian's son. And I'm just going to take a little time to say some things you may know, some things you may not know about Vivian's life, and a little bit about kind of what happened in the end, because many of you have had these questions for me. So Vivian was born Vivian Lavon Clark, and she grew up in the Depression years in a struggling family. She grew up in Sioux City, Iowa, and some of you may know that every day she walked to school with Pauline Friedman. Why is that important? It's Dear Abby. And Dear Abby had a twin sister. And the twin sister wrote the Ann Landers column. So they all grew up together kind of in Sioux City. During the war years, Vivian relocated to Southern California. And she was working in San Diego at the Navy Exchange, and my father was in the Navy at that time. So that's how that happened. Later on, we moved to Orange County, and my mother worked as a customer service representative at several organizations. For the phone company, became a supervisor in the phone company, and for the LA County Assessor's Office. Next another war came, the Vietnam War. And my mother was working with some religious scientist. My mother was very concerned I would not come back from the war. I was a little concerned too. So these religious scientists did prayer treatments for me, and that worked, and that started kind of a lifelong affiliation of my family and the Church of Religious Science. So my oldest son, John Paul, actually met his fiancée, Leslie, to Religious Science Church Camp. Ooh. And my other son, Andy, has trained and served as a religious science youth leader. So we have a good affiliation. So in the 90s, Vivian married Everett Dunlap. They worked together in the phone company. Everett had worked in the, also at General Telephone. So at that time, she relocated to Sedona. And my mother, I believe, belonged to every club in town, or most every. I have a short list. Sedona Women, Welcomers, Garden Club, I know I've left some out, Republican of Women, Muses, Antique Club, participated in the Elks, supporter of Canyon Moon Theater. My mother volunteered at Paw Prints until she needed a caretaker. And she was going to get a caretaker to go with her to help her volunteer at Paw Prints. I said, Mom, this is kind of nuts. And she's a founding member of this church, the Sedona Church of Religious Science, right? And I was in many other community activities. How many was in a club with Vivian? 2 or more? Okay, I'm sure there are people who had 2 or more clubs. So thank you for coming today. After Everett's death, Vivian was forced to quit driving, and living alone became difficult for her. So in her later years, she moved to the Sedona Winds, and she enjoyed very much the activities. Who's here from Sedona Winds? Thanks for coming. So she very much liked Sedona Winds. She, for the activities. She said the food wasn't always that great. They didn't always clean her room right, but she loved the activities. But anyone that knows Vivian knows that in the end she was very plagued with back pain. And we went to every pain clinic in Phoenix and northern Arizona looking for a fix. So in the end of February of this year, she had a surgery to relieve the back pain. She knew going to have the surgery at 92 was a risk, but she said, I can't bear to live with pain. So she also knew that she would have to have rehabilitation at the Kachina Point. And she'd had rehab there before. She'd been there after her other back surgery, which didn't come out too well. And I don't know if you remember, one time she was run over by a car. So, leaving the social event. So, Vivian survived the surgery. However, she resisted attempts at rehabilitation. She spent a lot of time in bed at the Kachina Point, and this most likely is what led to her demise. So, Kachina sent her back to Sedona Assisted Living. Sedona Assisted Living said, too much care for here. So Vivian moved back to her home with nurses from the Nurses Network, and so she could have physical therapy to get well. On Easter Sunday of this year, she was able to come, sit at the table, eat a little ham, little potatoes, and even made a few jokes. The next day, the Monday following that, she became too weak to feed herself. The next day, Tuesday of this week, she became too weak to give herself fluids. So by Wednesday, she was unable to swallow. And if fluids wouldn't go down, medicines wouldn't go down, the pain became extreme. Our only option was to call the hospice service. And I will tell you that Compass Hospice Services came and saved the day. So they came on the Wednesday following Easter and began with medications, and she was in no pain from that time on. And she really, truly did not regain consciousness in the way that you and I may think of consciousness after the hospice services began. So on Thursday of that week, she took her last breath. My wife Keita and I were in the room with her, along with a nurse from Nurses Network. So she has escaped from pain, finally. So I'm grateful for that. Does anybody come from Nurses Network? No? No? Hospice? Luana? Oh, I knew you were here. And Luana came and is an excellent hospice nurse and provided care just like this was a member of your family. So thank you very much. So in closing, I'd like to give a couple of quotes. The first one is from the ending of the Greek play Oedipus, and the author is Sophocles. Count no one of the race of man happy until he has crossed life's borders free of pain. So this is kind of a summary of the end of a very long, very happy, very joy-filled life of Vivian Dunlap. And the last quote is a Vivian quote. And you heard her say this often. We are here to help other people. So she said this a lot, and she lived this in her life. So in the end, when her mother, my grandmother, passed, when everything was said and done, and all the business of the passing of life taken care of, she said simply, "Thank you, Mother." So I'd like to say the same. So thanks, Mom. So thank you all for coming. That's all I got.
The last few years, she went through a lot of pain. And I was actually at school when I got the news that she had passed away. And when I heard that it happened, it wasn't actually, when it kind of hit me, it wasn't a sadness, really. It was more relief, because I knew everything that my grandmother went through. And it relieved me to see that she was gone, and she was, I hate the phrase "gone to a better place," but she really is gone to a better place. And I don't know, being my grandma, she always tried to inspire me to do great things, a dare to be brave kind of situation. And every time I think of her, she always keeps on saying this phrase in my head: "Keep on smiling, kid." That's all I'm gonna do. That's all I'm gonna do. I want to thank everyone for coming. Have a good day.